Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. Today's the day, folks. You've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. Today is the first day I host Family Feud. And I'll tell you, Harm, I think the questions are great. I think you guys are going to get to victory. And people are going to wonder right away, oh, what's the difference between regular Family Feud and Quads Family Feud? Well, there's going to be no timer. That's what I've decided. Timer's stupid. I'm going to read the question.
What? You're changing the rules now, too?
You guys don't need a timer.
No, come on.
No. I'll put one on my phone.
Okay. Let's be honest. The real reason you propose that is because you don't know how to do it technically.
No. Well, that's true. But Jacob offered to do it, and I said, no timer needed. You guys, because some of my questions are long, and there's no sense. No, I'm not going to race through reading them. I'm going to read them. You understand the question, answer it. You'll have fun. You just can't sit there and wait 5 seconds, because then I'm going to start yelling at you. That's Quads Family Feud. That's how it works.
Just set up some type of timer on your phone at least.
I will do that.
You got to work within the spirit of the game.
I will.
Oh, the chat is already not happy, Quads.
Well, whatever. Chat, like, if I wanted to screw you guys over, I would put a timer, but some of the questions are long. So I'm going to, you know what I'll do? I'll put a timer, and then I'll pause it when I'm reading the questions.
Okay, you can do that. See, Quads, that's why I always do the longest question first, because the timer doesn't start until you finish reading that question.
I could do that. Okay, whatever. You guys want a timer? No problem. Timer it is. All right. Chat wants a timer. Speaking of the chat, let's tell everybody about our Super Chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show, hit us with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Okay. The news of the day, well, it was news yesterday, but we didn't do a show yesterday, so we're here today. The news of the week, I guess, if you're a Canucks fan, Quinn Hughes finishes third in Norris Trophy voting. Now, I think the voters got it right. I think that's the important thing to preface this by saying, is that Cale Makar should have won the Norris. He was first on my ballot. Was he first on your ballot?
Yeah.
Okay. So he should have won the award. Quinn Hughes was probably the second or third best defenseman this season in the spirit of the award. And Zach Werenski is the other guy in that conversation. No matter how you slot Hughes or Werenski, I had Hughes number 2. Werenski finished second. I had Werenski third on my ballot. But before I start complaining, which I'm going to do, I want to make sure I preface this by saying the voters got it right. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? Like, is the top 3 right? And I think the top 3 is correct in Cale Makar, Zach Werenski, and Quinn Hughes. Now, obviously, I disagree. I think Quinn Hughes should be number 2 ahead of Zach Werenski, but Werenski had a hell of a season. He's the clear number 2 or number 3, however you want to slot that. So I want to preface it by saying that. What I do have a problem with is the 7 voters who didn't have Quinn Hughes in their top 5. Like, how can you even say, oh yes, I cover this sport professionally, but I didn't think Quinn Hughes was the top 5 defenseman? How can you even have that take after this past season? I don't get it. I don't like it. It really bothers me.
Just tell us that you don't watch Canucks games. Tell us that you're likely from the East Coast, that you don't want to stay up, and how you look at Quinn's size, and because you haven't watched him play, you probably assume he's somewhat of a defensive liability. It's an indictment on your hockey knowledge if you didn't have Quinn Hughes top 5 on your Norris ballot this year, just flat out.
Now, I have all of their names written down, and I've written down what their ballots actually were. I think it might be a little too savage to read everybody's ballot individually, and it's not. I don't think that's a fair way to go about it. What I will say is I will read some of the names that of these 7 voters, who they voted for instead of Quinn Hughes. These are names that were on these ballots, not everyone's ballot, but of the 7, these were names that were on these ballots that were not Quinn Hughes. Okay, Josh Morrissey, I think that's understandable, fair enough. Thomas Harley, Adam Fox, Jake Sanderson, Victor Hedman, understandable. Adam Fox in the year 24-25, just to be clear, that season of Adam Fox is what we're talking about. Rasmus Dahlin, who was also on my ballot, I had him 5th, I think. Devon Taves.
Devon Taves is wild.
One person had Makar 1, Devon Taves 5th. Okay?
That is wild.
Yep. And then it was, I already said Jake Sanderson, Lane Hudson, and no, Jacob didn't get a vote. Lane Hudson made it onto the Norris ballot here.
He deserved a couple down ballot votes.
Quinn Hughes isn't on your ballot.
Yeah, sure. Like, obviously, I'm with you.
You also had Jake Sanderson on it ahead of Lane Hudson.
Fair enough.
Okay. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, the other ones were all kind of understandable. But those are the names that I wanted to read. I think that's the important part here is like, okay, maybe there is someone better than Quinn Hughes on your ballot. I don't get that from any of those names that I just read.
Yeah, the thing to remember though is when you have 200 plus voters on anything, you're bound to have extreme outliers that just don't make sense. For example, if you polled players and asked them to fill out these ballots, you would have, I would argue, even wilder hot takes because they just wouldn't research and would just give vibes takes. Same thing if you went with coaches, GMs, people who professionally work in the game, scouts, you would also have some wild takes there. So the important thing is in the end, they got it right. But yeah, for those 7 people that didn't have Quinn Hughes top 5 on their Norris ballot, they should start watching Canucks games.
Anything else they should do?
I don't want to be too mean.
I know that's the thing. We're part of the PHWA, and no, it's not technically a union, but it's a gathering of professional hockey writers. So I'm not gonna read anyone's name because there's people in the chat are saying do it. So social security and home addresses as well. No, we're not doing that.
It is public information though. So if anyone does want to go find it, you can go and you can look at everybody's ballots. The name and the organization that they work for is all there. But yeah, we're not going to sit here and flame people for their ballots. That's
no, but we are going to tell you how to find it.
A couple Google searches and it's pretty easy.
All right. So no real surprise that Quinn Hughes finished 3rd. I don't think it's an indictment on him. I do think it's partly his teammates letting him down because Quinn Hughes was kind of on an island this season, as all Canucks fans know at this point. But it's more so he would have finished 2nd, maybe even 1st if he had just played more games. Missing 14 games really hurt him this season. Again, Makar scored 30 goals. That was always going to be tough to do. But like Quinn put up really respectable numbers himself. And again, you look at how valuable he was to the Canucks. I know that's not specifically what the Norris Award, the Norris Trophy is for, but he would have had a better case had he played more games, in my opinion.
If you conducted a Norris Trophy mid-season survey, Quinn would have been number 1. I'm very sure of it. The second half was just for him troubled by health, not just the 14 games that he missed, but the last 25 games for the Canucks. He appeared in 21 of them. The Canucks were outscored 23-13 during Quinn's 5-on-5 shifts. So even the games where he was available because he was playing through multiple injuries, his performance suffered. And down the stretch, he still piled up a lot of points and was still playing at a star level, but he wasn't quite operating at that superstar two-way efficiency that we saw in the first half of the season, especially on the defensive side of the puck, because he was so labored, because he was having to play 30 minutes a night, nursing multiple ailments. So it's not just the games played that he missed, but even the ones that he appeared in down the stretch, last 20 or so, his numbers took a significant hit. And again, if you conducted this Norris Trophy balloting at the midway point or even right before the Four Nations break, I would bet you that Quinn would be number 1.
Think about the conversations we were having in the first half of the season, right? It was like, oh my goodness, Quinn Hughes has somehow leveled up. Like Quinn Hughes is playing better than he did in his Norris Trophy winning season. What's the limit for this guy? And hey, we don't know what it is just yet. Obviously, like you said, injuries kind of derailed the back half of his season. But I agree with you. Midway point poll, Quinn Hughes is probably leading in the Norris race, but he finishes the race 3rd overall. A hell of a season for Zach Werenski. Thought it was good that he got some recognition for that. Again, he was on my ballot. Good for him to get 2nd. That's a big honor for a guy that, again, was definitely one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. And I don't know if that has anything to do with just playing in Columbus, what exactly it is. But again, always a guy that's been a bit underrated in my opinion and really exploded offensively this year.
Yeah, he was by far their best player, sort of similar to Quinn in Vancouver, where, yeah, he had a little bit more help, but he almost single-handedly dragged that team to the playoffs, especially because of the number of injuries the Blue Jackets dealt with in the second half themselves, or in the middle of the year, where Sean Monahan, their top line center, was banged up for a large chunk. Marchenko missed some games. There was a point in the season where Columbus was really, really banged up, and Werenski was carrying them, not just offensively, but defensively as well. Rock solid, elite two-way results. And this is also something I think voters sometimes maybe, in this case, they obviously didn't overlook it because he finished second. But when Quinn Hughes, before he had Filip Hronek, people wouldn't take into account the quality of a number one defenseman's partner, right? So when Quinn was playing with Ethan Bear and Luke
Noah Juleson,
I didn't think he got enough flowers. And so I think it was in 2022-23, I made the case that year that Quinn deserved down ballot Norris votes, like third, fourth, fifth place votes, recognizing how well he played in context of, hey, he's had a subpar partner compared to Cale Makar gets to play with Devon Toews, who's a legit top pair partner. Just comparing Quinn's quality partner to the other partners that Norris contenders have had. That's where Werenski, his partner for most of this season, was Dante Fabro, a guy they picked up off waivers. And Fabro played well in that complimentary role, but he had a waiver wire partner essentially and drove those results. So massive respect for Werenski in the season he had.
Okay, anything else you want to say on the Norris race and Hughes specifically finishing third?
Not really. I was just surprised at how many years Makar has been a finalist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight years that he's been a finalist, top 3 in voting. And even in his rookie years,
only his second. I was surprised it was only his second Norris. I thought he'd won more.
I mean, I knew it was only his second, but just to see that he's been top 3 every year, that's a massive testament, not just to performance, but also health and availability. Because a lot of times a player will have an elite season, but look at Kirill Kaprizov. He would have been in the Hart Trophy conversation, but he missed half the year because he got hurt. So with Makar, it's not just the performance, but how durable he's been. Now it's worth mentioning, of course, that he struggled in the playoffs, underperformed. Was him not playing at that superstar level in the postseason was one of the reasons Colorado didn't get past Dallas in the first round of playoffs. And honestly, if you ask me today to pick one defenseman for a series, I would take Quinn over Makar, because I think Quinn's done more with less. But I mean, it's right now it's Makar and Hughes far and away are the two best defensemen in the NHL. Werenski would need to repeat what he's done this season to be part of the conversation. And the other guys, the Adam Fox, the Mira Heiskanen tier, they're below. To me,
Jake Sanderson
as well. He's below, like the Quinn Makar tier. Quinn and Makar are in a tier of their own when it comes to defensemen in the NHL.
I was being sarcastic because Jake Sanderson got a vote.
Well, I mean, Sanderson actually really came alive in the second half. I think
ahead of Quinn Hughes.
Oh, yes, fully agree there. But he's a top 10, 15 defenseman in the league.
Absolutely he is. And
so here,
turns on his mic and yells Lane Hudson.
No. Well, something I'm going to pitch to you here though is I looked it up between 1985 and 1996, so like 11 years. Paul Coffey, Ray Bourque, and Chris Chelios won all but one Norris Trophy. Like, are we going to see something like that now? And I'll put Hudson in there. Calm down. He's probably only going to win 1 or 2. But like, are you going to see Makar and Hughes just absolutely own this award for the next decade?
Okay, I'm going to honestly ask you a question. Do you think Lane Hudson's going to learn to defend? Because his defensive game was poop.
Yeah, well, I mean, so was Quinn Hughes.
It improved a lot, though.
It improved throughout the year, and like Quinn Hughes learned to defend. Lane Hudson's going to learn to defend.
I always like Quinn's defense. I thought it was underrated when people were talking bad about it. All right. Okay. I like that contribution, Jacob. That's good. Are we almost ready? Oh, no, not Family Feud yet. I really want to get to Family Feud, but we got to get to our poll question first because it's about the Norris Trophy. Let's get to our poll question. It is brought to you by our friends at Pacific Toyota Dealers who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X. An SUV packed with plenty of space, the BZ4X can handle any terrain and can take you from the cities to the slopes. It's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota, and if you're driving a BZ4X, you get access to HOV lanes even if you're driving alone. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get a $5,000 incentive, and now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X LE all-wheel drive from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, our poll question. It is about the Norris, and it is about Quinn Hughes. Our poll question today, by the time he retires, by the time his career comes to a close, how many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with? 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more? Remembering the record is 7 from Bobby Orr, right, Jacob?
I don't actually know that off the top of my head, but that sounds right.
Maybe 6. Might be 6. Okay, look it up. Jacob's going to look that up and get it to us. But how many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with? Harm, right now, 50.8% of voters say 3, 21.3% say 4 or more, 23.2% say 2, and 4.7% say no more. Just finished his career with the one that he won last season. And oh my gosh, Jacob's chiming in here. 8 for Bobby Orr. And my goodness, Nick Lidstrom had 7. Wow. That is a dominant run. That is so I love stats like that. I'm ashamed that I didn't know 8 off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's tough to win these major awards. I mean, the perfect example of this is Connor McDavid. He's the undisputed best player in the NHL. And yet you look through his hockey reference page, he's won 1, 2, 3 Hart trophies in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons.
And he's not winning it this year either because his teammate was.
Well, I included this season as the 10th.
But he's not winning it this year.
He's not. It's going to be Leon if any Oiler wins it. So
Leon is, yeah.
McDavid's the best player on this planet, yet he's only won a Hart Trophy 3 times in 10 years. Yep. It goes to show just how hard it is because other guys will step up and have the sort of elite superstar, best player in the game type performances, but it just comes down to consistency. How many years in a row can you be sort of regarded, if you're a defenseman in Quinn's case, as a top 3 defender in the league? And that's where Makar as well, he's only won it twice, but he's been a finalist every year since the sophomore season in the NHL. And that's what I expect Quinn to be as well moving forward, is a consistent finalist. And absolutely. I think he'll pick up another couple Norris trophies over his career.
This is a good one. It's not anyone else yet, but I want to read this one. This is from Conversation. Who retires with more Norris trophies, Quinn or Cale Makar? I'm going to say, since he's got the head start, probably Cale Makar, but it's going to be close. I think it is going to be. And yeah, sure, maybe Lane Hudson will be part of that conversation, but I think it's fair to say that like this next 5, I don't know, probably not 10, but next like 5 plus, maybe 5 to 7 years of defense in the NHL is going to be headlined by Quinn and Cale.
Undeniably. And I think Makar's always going to have a bit of an edge because ever since they came into the league, there's a preference for Makar's slight edge in size. His Conn Smythe run, right, winning the Stanley Cup there, that's earned him a little bit extra in the eyes of a lot of people outside of Vancouver. And Makar had just winning the Calder Trophy first season in 2019-20 over Quinn. There's always going to be a bit of catching up for Quinn to do perception-wise, and Makar's already got the head start.
All right. That was our poll question. And just before we get to Family Feud, which I'm very excited about, I want to tell everybody about Greta. By now, you know that Greta's a great spot to watch the big game. There's one tonight. But did you know, 2 tonight, actually. But did you know it's an even better spot for your upcoming party or event? If you need a venue for a team building or summer social event, check out Greta. They've got the street food menu. They've got the arcade games. And of course, they've got the bar. It's always a fun time with plenty of options. Make Greta your spot for your next event. To book your next event and for more info, go to gretabar.com. Greta Bar YVR 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. Jacob, can you take me off screen? I just have to get myself ready for Family Feud. You're going to set it up?
Yeah, you know what? Here, I'll put my video on and then I can take you off screen. Just let me know when you're ready to come back on.
Jacob, do you want to go first or second?
I'm fine with either. I think
it's your choice. What are you most comfortable with?
You know what? I'll go second.
Okay, sure.
I'll go second. I feel like I can bounce back from buzzes pretty well, and that way, the chat can see that from me, right? I think they all want to see me perform. They're putting the pressure on me, so.
Yeah, I mean, not to add extra pressure, but I really think you're going to be clutch. It wouldn't surprise me if I shouldn't even say it wouldn't surprise me. I legit think and would predict that you'll be better than both Quads and I at Family Feud.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The advantage I have is I've done so many of them from the other side, right? I've done all these surveys. I know how the data works. I know how the Canucks Army and Canucks Conversation specifically listeners respond to these surveys. So I can use that to my advantage. I can see Quads in the background here. I don't know if he's ready. Quads, you'll have to put it into the private chat if you're ready to come back in. But this is going to be silly. All right. Well, here we go.
Get me my music.
Yeah, give me
I
a
bought
sec.
it just for this. For those on the podcast, I'm wearing a Steve Harvey mustache.
All right, you ready?
I'm your man. Yeah, do it. Well, welcome back to Canucks Conversation Family Feud. I'm your man, David Quadrelli. I just look like Mario, man.
Yeah, you do. It's falling off.
Like Super Mario. It is coming off, but I'm excited. I'm excited to host Family Feud. We got a good survey. We're going to have a great game. We're going to have a clean game, gentlemen. It's going to be a good one today.
We're playing together, not fighting.
Yeah, well, I'd like everybody. I would need you guys. I'm going to tell you right off the start, okay? This survey was all the answers were done by Monday. So anything that's happened this week doesn't matter, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Who's going first?
I am.
Harm is going to go first, so I will.
There's a really funny comment in the chat that I'm not going to read. I will read it to you both privately later, but it is very, very funny. I'm going to take the mustache off. It's just falling off. Okay, I'm going to get the timer going. How much time are you supposed to have? 25. Yeah, 25. All right.
It starts after you read the first question.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not. One sec. Jacob, how the hell do you do this? Okay, I got it. This is so much multitasking. And you gotta run the show too. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready, Harm?
Yeah.
You already said you were. Okay. Out of 191 PHWA ballots, how many first place votes will Quinn Hughes receive for the Norris this season?
50.
How many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with?
3.
Who will be the first player the Canucks trade for this offseason?
Rossi.
Who will be the first current Canucks player or prospect traded away this offseason?
Demko.
Who will be the NHL's 32nd ranked team next season?
Sharks.
Okay. Well done. I will tally that up. We can bring Jacob back. Oh, yeah, I forgot he's muted. Yeah, you got to wave to him like I always do for you. Okay.
I think that went all right. I think
went all right.
I think you'll do well.
Okay. How are the questions?
Up my nose right now.
They were good. Okay, I don't think I can quite say.
It's fine. Yeah, we'll talk after.
We'll talk about it after. There's one question that's a bit confusing, but most of them are pretty straightforward, and I think you'll nail it.
Jacob, can you deafen yourself for a second? I need to run an answer back with Harmon. Harmon, what did you say for how many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with?
3.
Nice. That was the number one answer. Nice job.
Yeah, I mean, okay. You did the poll question, so that helped.
All right, we'll bring Jacob back. Okay. Jacob, I've got good news for you, my friend.
All right.
Harmon got you 145 points.
Whoa, Harm.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still recovering from what was said in the chat. That might be the funniest comment I've ever seen. I'll just say people were saying with the mustache I looked like a certain dictator.
No.
Yeah, no, it was not good. The mustache, and then I looked at myself and was like, "Ooh, I better take the mustache off." Okay, Jacob, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Let's do it.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds for you on the clock. Your time begins when I first reading the first question. If you repeat one of Harmon's answers, I'm just gonna scream at you.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Wait, sorry, I closed the survey. Oh no, I didn't. There it is. Okay, I got it. We're good. Okay, Jacob, remembering that the survey was done on Monday.
Yep.
Out of 191 PHWA ballots, how many first place votes will Quinn Hughes receive for the Norris this season?
25.
How many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with?
4.
Who will be the first player the Canucks trade for this offseason?
JJ Peterka.
Who will be the first current Canucks player or prospect traded away this offseason?
Tom Willander.
Who will be the NHL's 32nd ranked team next season? 4 seconds.
Buffalo Sabres.
Well done. So you guys definitely won. Great job.
All right.
Nailed it.
I'll give you the breakdown.
I didn't get buzzed once either.
No, you actually got mostly number 2, and then there was one. The final question. All right, we'll go through it. Okay.
There was a couple answers where I'm like, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure I knew what Harm would have responded with, so I purposely avoided it. So I'm glad that it worked out. I think,
Smart.
Yeah,
Game theory.
You guys did well. Okay, let's go through it, gentlemen. Out of 197 PHWA ballot, or 91, it was 97, but some people didn't submit ballots, right? Yeah. How many first place votes will Quinn Hughes receive for the Norris this season? Harmon, you said 50. That was worth 10 points. That was the number tied for the number 3 answer. Jacob, you said 25. That got you 8 points.
Okay.
So again,
yeah, that was a bit of a confusing question to try and
It was a heater to start.
Well, and especially knowing how many he actually got, I'm like, oh well, probably
exactly.
Have to say more than that.
You need 47 points. How many Norris trophies will Quinn Hughes finish his career with? Harmon came in with the number 1 answer of 3. That was worth 46 points, and Jacob came in with number 2 of 4.
So I was worth
28 points.
I was gonna say 3, but I figured that's probably what Harm would have said based on the discussion you guys just had in the last segment. So I went up 1. So
okay,
there we go. Harm and I are on the same wavelength. This is good.
You need 19 points.
Oh,
did you get it here? Who will be the first player the Canucks trade for this offseason? Overwhelming, the number 1 answer was Marco Rossi with 58 points. I'm not sure there's been an answer that was worth that much in our history of Family Feud. I thought it was a good question. But Marco Rossi was the overwhelming number 1 answer. Harmon crushed it, so you guys got the 58 there. What was the number 2 answer? It was JJ Peterka with 22 points. That means you guys won. Play yourself some music.
There we go. No music needed, but we got the graphic. Harm and I are undefeated.
Love it. And we'll go through the final 2 questions. It was who's gonna be the first current Canucks player or prospect traded away this offseason. Harmon said Thatcher Demko. Not much love for Thatcher Demko there, actually. Only 5 points for Thatcher Demko. But Jacob came in with the number 1 answer of Tom Willander. That was worth 24 points. That was followed by Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, Elias Pettersson, the forward, and then Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. Okay, so you guys are at 227 right now. The final question, who will be the NHL's 32nd ranked team next season? The number 1 answer went unanswered on this one. The Chicago Blackhawks came in at number 1 with 38 points. San Jose was the number 2 answer, so you guys did okay there. And Buffalo was number 3 with 14 points. So you guys finished the day with 241 points. You guys are victorious. Some other answers for that final question: the Nashville Predators, the Seattle Kraken, and the Philadelphia Flyers. Some people really wanted to see Rick Tocchet's first season in Philadelphia not go very well. Okay. Great job, guys.
Are Jacob and I just going to keep rolling until we lose?
I think so. I liked making the survey.
Okay.
I think I'll do it again. I think
Sounds good.
we'll
Shouldn't
keep
we
it going.
combine our records, by the way?
Well, we
Other
could.
than,
I can.
Like
I
as
can,
a Canucks Convo show record?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a separate one because there's one where Jeff filled in, right? So I can do a combined record, but I figured it'd be fun to keep the actual pairs separate. But yes, we will do like when we decide that it's like time for a new year, which probably will be around the start of the NHL season. We'll do like I'll do a whole like leaderboard, like your guys' numbers, mine and Harm's. I think it was Quads and no, I think it was Harm and Jeff that did it, and then we'll just do a total number. Well, we'll have fun with it.
Now I just realized I just made myself have to make the survey for next week, which isn't very fun to do. It is very annoying to come up with questions, but I did it, and yeah, it was good. So the new survey will be out tomorrow, folks. Give me some time. I'll try to do it tonight. Okay, great work, gentlemen. Let's move on. Let's get to anyone else. We've actually got a busy anyone else, so let's get right to it. Anyone else is brought to you by our friends at the Vancouver Canadians. Caesar back at the net for a 6-game set with Spokane. We had the dog day of summer. That was a lot of fun. There's a nooner at the net on Friday the 13th with first pitch at 1:05 p.m. Perfect time to get your weekend started early. And on Saturday, it's Blue Jays Day. The weekends with a White Spot Family Fun Sunday. Bring the kids and watch them run the bases post-game. For tickets, call 604-872-5232 or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Dude, I have mustache like in my nose. Like it's just it's like it sheds so much, this mustache I bought, and it is like up my nostrils. And I hate it. Like it's bothering me so much. I'm never gonna do that ever again. I bought a pack of 8, so I have 8 of these, and they're all different shapes. So
after assuming what that YouTube comment was, I also don't think I could see you put that back on.
Well, I'll put a different. I'll put a bigger mustache. Just more length. All I needed was more length. All I needed was more length. It was just a little too short.
A little too short.
Okay.
Now I'm questioning where you got this.
All right, moving on. Busy day actually for us on anyone else. I wanted to start with this. This was from your colleague Pierre LeBrun over at The Athletic, who wrote that the Canucks are leaning toward keeping Elias Pettersson. Now, we expected this, but with the July 1st deadline looming, and that deadline, of course, being when Pettersson's no movement clause kicks in on July 1st, it was always going to be one of those things where you kind of thought, okay, they're probably going to keep him, but let's see it when it actually happens. And I think it is also worth mentioning, Jacob, if you could pull it up, what Pierre actually wrote was that, he still kept that door open of the never say never, which, we know that's insider speak to some extent, but I also do believe that the Canucks, if they got a call that was like, hey, we really want Elias Pettersson and we're willing to offer you a really significant package for him, I think the Canucks would certainly listen on that. Like, I don't think this is a report saying the Canucks are no longer listening on Elias Pettersson and that they're not gonna entertain any calls on him. It's just that they're probably leaning toward keeping him at this point.
I've always assumed since the end of the season that the Canucks perspective would be, we prefer to keep him, but we're going to listen, and it would take an offer we can't refuse for us to move him, simply because the Canucks are in a position where they need to take a significant step forward next season. Center ice is already a position of weakness for them, and Pettersson represents the highest ceiling centerman that could conceivably be available this offseason.
Yep.
Right? If Pettersson bounces back, whether he's an 80-point centerman, whether he's a 90-point centerman, maybe even touches 100 points again, name me another centerman available on the NHL trade market right now who has that kind of upside, especially one that can play responsible hockey on both sides of the puck. And the Canucks desperately lack that elite talent at the top of the lineup. Put it this way: if you trade Elias Pettersson away, the Canucks would have 0 forwards under contract for next season who've ever had a 60-point season in their NHL career. And of course, yeah, you would presumably be getting back some type of forward in that trade. But the point being, this team so desperately needs star forwards, and Pettersson bouncing back is the most straightforward path to landing one, especially at the center ice position.
I wrote about this morning, and I actually got a call. I'm not going to say from who. I got a call from an NHL source is all I'm going to say, okay? And in the story I wrote, oh, well, like a nightmare scenario for the Canucks is that they keep Elias Pettersson past the deadline, things don't turn around, and next season he has all the control and says, I'm only going to one team, or I'm only going to one or two teams, and you're not going to trade me. And the person called and said, that's probably not going to happen. If Elias Pettersson comes back and it doesn't turn around, he's going to want to get out of Vancouver just as much. Now, it might mean that Buffalo's not an option, but it would still likely mean, or it still would mean that the Canucks could trade him somewhere. It's just right now they can trade him anywhere, but it shouldn't get to the point, if Pettersson doesn't bounce back next season, it shouldn't get to the point of him saying, here's a list of one or two teams that I'm willing to go to. That was just something that was pointed out to me today, so I wanted to make sure I at least mentioned it.
Yeah, if Pettersson disappoints next season, his legacy in Vancouver is tarnished. Everyone is going to turn against him. There's
especially if it starts getting
sizable...
leaked that he's blocking trades.
Yeah, it's just I don't even want to think about how toxic it could get in this market for Pettersson if he underwhelms again at $11.6 million. Already he's faced a lot of criticism, but imagine that 2 or 3x if it happens again. Imagine being a player in that shoes. You wouldn't want to play in that type of environment where everybody hates you. You'd probably want a fresh start to move on. Now, could there be difficulty in moving that contract? Yeah, probably. But even if the Canucks can't move that deal, let's lay out this worst case scenario. If Elias Pettersson underwhelms this coming year, chances are, like if he's a 50, 60 point player again, chances are they're not going to make the playoffs. And you think about Quinn's future, he's going to be extension eligible on July 1st, 2026. If the Canucks don't make the playoffs again next season, do you think he's going to be eager to sign an extension to stay long-term here? In this worst case scenario where Pettersson disappoints, you're probably not feeling very confident that Quinn's going to stay. And if Quinn's not going to stay, then who cares if you're stuck with Pettersson as this anchor contract? It's not ideal, obviously, but at that point, if Quinn's not staying long-term, then you're going to have to rebuild.
No pressure, Petey.
I don't think the downside risk is like it's bad, but it's not as crippling as it might be, because if Pettersson underperforms, you're probably going to have to rebuild anyway.
No pressure, Petey. No pressure. No pressure. Oh man, how far we've come. And you just said it, and we should repeat it. That's a nightmare scenario. That's the worst case scenario. The other part of this report from LeBrun is that the Canucks are happy with Pettersson's off-season training to this point. And again, we heard Adam Foote last week, I believe he was on Sportsnet 650, saying that Petey came back to North America. They went for a round of golf and some dinners, him, Demko, and Hughes. Of course, that's the Canucks leadership group. So, yeah, I think everybody here, everybody watching the show is just hoping that it's an Elias Pettersson bounce back. And this is just a story where in 2 years we just say, remember that weird time when Elias Pettersson just wasn't himself for a year and a half? That was weird. That knee tendonitis, that sure got him. But hey, it's all in the past now. So, yeah, hopefully that is just in the past. But we're not going to do the doom and gloom conversation anymore. Another thing that LeBrun wrote in that article was about Marco Rossi, who again was the number one answer in Family Feud just moments ago. If you could pull that up, Jacob. This was one from LeBrun. He said the Calgary Flames and Vancouver Canucks and the Canadians, Montreal, are among the Canadian teams looking for a young number 2 center. But I would say among those three, the Canucks have the most interest in wild center Marco Rossi. The Flames have mild interest. They would rather get a center with more size. And I don't think the Habs are on that very much at all. Okay, so the Canucks with the most interest in wild center Marco Rossi. Where there's smoke, there's fire. We've heard it from why am I blanking on his name?
Michael
That's
Russo.
So rude. Michael Russo. My goodness. We've heard it from Michael Russo, and now we've heard it from Pierre LeBrun as well. And we should also mention, like, I'm sure you've poked in around this too, and like there has been 0 people that are in the know that you ask about this that say anything other than like, I'm not going to say anything else, but you're on to something. Like there's no one that's putting cold water on the Canucks' interest in Marco Rossi right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm a little bit surprised that the Canucks weren't scared off by his size.
Me too.
Just the way this management group tends to kind of build teams, how small the forward group already is. Adam Foote being the head coach, and we know how much he's preferred having size on the back end. I'm a little surprised that they're actually this open to the idea of pushing aggressively for Rossi. I think part of it comes down to just how dire the rest of the center market is, and understanding how many teams have cap space, assets, and a desire to improve at the second line center position. It's not just the Canucks. There are several other teams, even outside of the 3 Canadian clubs that Pierre mentioned in that article. But also in that same article, Pierre reported that the Islanders aren't moving Barzal or Horvat, that Matthew Darche has told both players that they're going to stay put. So the point being, the pool of available centers continues dwindling. And when you look at Rossi as a 23-year-old, 60-point centerman who probably won't cost you, he's going to be expensive, but he's not going to cost you necessarily an arm and a leg. He's attainable. Put it that way. Attainable is the right word, because other clubs are scared off by the size factor. I think it's all lining up to where it makes sense for them to kind of kick tires, even though he's not a perfect or ideal fit in terms of the size equation.
I think it comes down to, and I wrote about this very recently, and we've talked about it as well on the show, but it comes down to the fact that you're going to get a flawed player no matter who you're trading for right now, who you sign. Like there's going to be flaws to the guys that are signed on July 1st. And some of those flaws might just be, you gave them a anchor contract. You gave them a crazy contract because it's July 1st and you've got some money in your pocket. You're going to have to kind of look past some of those flaws and kind of mitigate the risk and just say, what's the most upside? And I'd say for a guy like Rossi, and you and I have talked about this, and we both like the player to some extent as well. This is a guy who plays big. Like, he scores all his goals in the middle of the ice. He penetrates to the middle. He's not doing the thing that we're talking about with a guy like Jonathan Lecker-Mackey in the playoffs right now, where it's like, oh yeah, he's kind of shying away from contact. He's shying away from the middle of the ice. Now, when you're a smaller guy, that is harder to do. It is more taxing on your body. Sure. But we've seen this is the way that Marco Rossi plays. And you know what this Canucks team needs? Goals and points in the regular season as well. Everybody keeps talking about playoffs. You need points in the regular season as well. And as you just said, Harm, they have nobody that's got points, or excuse me, that has put up 60 points, forwards, put up 60 points in any past season other than Elias Pettersson. So, like, they are going to need more offense than what they have right now. And you look at the available options, Marco Rossi's a damn good one.
Yeah, and I can fully understand where the fans who look at Rossi look at his size and go, that should be a non-starter. I don't like the fit there. I have concerns about how slight they are up the middle. That's a valid flaw. That's a valid question mark to have. The issue is, who's the top 6 center with size that's realistically available right now?
Exactly. Yeah, who's your option B?
Sure, maybe Pavel Zacha, but Zacha's not as good a player as Rossi, nor is he 23 years old.
Yep, you need points. You need points, and you're not getting them from Pavel Zacha.
Pavel Zacha, it's not like you can trade for this team could really use a JT Miller type center to play behind Elias Pettersson, but there's no JT Miller available in the trade market to go and get.
Pavel Zacha's season high in points, 59. So you still get to say your stat about they don't have any 60-point forwards, because he finished with 59, just short of that line that we're looking for. I'm totally with you though. Like, I think they're interested in Marco. I think they're interested in Marco Rossi. I think it's very real interest, and I think that if and when they're asked about why they went out and acquired Marco Rossi, and if there were any concerns about his size, I almost guarantee the answer is going to be, well, we had to kind of look at the pros and cons, and we think there's a lot more pros with this player, and also we really like the way that he plays despite his size.
Also, Höglander and Garland, are there any guarantees that they're going to be here long term? Garland is a UFA at the end of next season. If you can't come to terms with them on an extension, would it surprise you if the Canucks listen to offers on him? I think you'd have to consider. Now, I don't love that idea because I'd prefer to re-sign Garland. I think he's more valuable to the Canucks as a player than he is as a trade asset. But if you're skeptical about your chances of being able to re-sign him, then you probably don't want to risk losing him for nothing in the offseason next year. And if you're already concerned about size, then all right, you could bring Rossi in, and then you can ship out Garland or even a Höglander. Like, this is an open question mark as far as I believe in the player. I think if given a consistent opportunity and a long leash in the middle six, that he would be a really impactful player, and that he would, if anything, slightly outperform his $3 million cap hit. But if Foote views Höglander in a similar light as Adam Foote, and he's not going to use him as much if he's going to be playing 10, 11 minutes a night in and out of the doghouse, then that's a player that you look at as well and go, do we reallocate the cap space? Do we cash in on him as a trade asset? And on both fronts, then you can go out and try acquiring a bigger middle six winger, which I think it's easier to find a winger with size who can play in your middle six than it is a center with size in your middle six.
And we've been talking about this for a while. Like, they're going to need multiple pieces. That's the fact of the matter. They're going to need multiple pieces if they're going to pull off this big offseason. And something I didn't know we had to say this, but I am going to say it because I think people are a little bit confused. And I don't know how they're confused because Jim Rutherford made it pretty damn clear, I thought, at end of season media bills. This team isn't going to make a trade and make their offseason moves to try to be a playoff team next year. Like, they are trying to get, when he says we're trying to get it back to where it was, he's talking about being a fringe Stanley Cup contender. Like, that's where this team wants to get back to in one offseason. That's how they're trying to make
No, I would disagree.
No, I
mean,
know.
Sure, that's what they want, but okay, you got to look at actions. If this team was actually prioritizing building a Stanley Cup contender for next season, they would have sold at the deadline. They prioritized the playoff push this season. You have to look at their actions. They prioritized this year's playoff push over.
I'm talking now. I'm talking right now.
Come on, but no, this is how you operate big picture. You can't tell me, looking at the way they acted at the deadline, you can't tell me that
Harmon. No, okay, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah,
but what you're describing is creating a long-term Stanley Cup contender. What I am describing is them making multiple moves to get back to the point of being a fringe cup contender next season. I know that is what they're trying to do this offseason. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they're trying. But any team that's serious about contending for the Stanley Cup next year, we were talking about this at the trade deadline. If you're serious about building the best team possible for the 2025-26 season, you have to sell at the deadline. And they're prioritized this past season's playoff push, knowing that they weren't a contender this past season, over mining the additional assets that Besser and Suter could have gotten you. So you can't tell me that they've this entire time been seriously prioritizing building a cup team.
But then they haven't been doing it the entire time. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing this offseason, Harm. And you might be sitting there and saying, hey, that's pretty arrogant of them to think that they can do that they cannot sell at the deadline and then do all this in an offseason and get it back to where it was. You might say that that's impossible. You're not going to get a disagreement from me on either of those points. I am telling you that is the goal right now. That is what they're doing. And what I'm getting at, Harm, is that they're going to make multiple trades. I keep having people say, Marco Rossi isn't the only answer. You can't just get Marco Rossi. And it's like, yes, I agree with you. It goes back to the Jonathan Marchessault conversation where people are like, no, you can't get Jonathan Marchessault. It's like, well, if it costs you a fourth rounder, you can. Because that's how you can replace Brock Besser for $5.5 million on your cap. And Marchessault, I get it. Bad example. Sure, he's got the no movie, blah, 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 whatever. I am saying philosophically, this team is going to make multiple moves. They're going to take home run swings this offseason. They're going to ship out futures because they are trying to get back to not just being a playoff team and a fringe playoff team like they were this past season, being an actual fringe cup contender. That is what they are trying to do. I'm not saying they can do it. That is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, fair enough. They're trying now, but it rubs me the wrong way that they didn't show this level of urgency and priority at this past deadline, because it would have been a whole hell of a lot easier to make splashy moves now if they were armed with, let's say, an extra first round pick from Flippin' Brock or
second,
an extra second round pick.
Even if they were only offering second,
even if you had 2 extra second round picks because you moved Brock in one deal and Suter in an extra one, now all of a sudden you can really start to load up your assets, and it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a significantly easier time. But the point also is you have assets to add, not just this offseason, but moving forward. Because let's say this team starts strong, but has, let's say, the need for another piece or two at the deadline. What are you going to need to do then? You're also then going to need to have assets. You want to have assets available for you, not just at one period of time, but throughout your, like, if you're going to be a good team, you're going to have to continue spending assets wise to get to that goal of being a cup contending team. And this team, they have some pieces to play with, but they don't have a huge surplus relative to how many other teams in the NHL are shopping to improve their roster right now.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. And look, there's people in the chat. That's why I said, if it's a second, it's still an asset. If it's a third, it's still an asset. There's people in the chat saying, oh, there's no way they would have got a first for Brock Besser. Even if it's a second, even if it's a third, like, it is still an asset that, guess what? You're going to watch the Canucks depart with this offseason. If they had more of those, that'd be a good thing. Okay. This one from Skytrain Canuck Elfrin. Thoughts on the Kreider trade? We didn't even talk about this. Chris Kreider has been traded to the Anaheim Ducks. First of all, what the hell? I don't quite understand why the Ducks just did the Rangers a huge favor. I don't know. That's basically my only take on the trade. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, how does this impact the Ducks? I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Ducks are going to suck next year.
It's funny how the Ducks are becoming the Rangers West, right? They've got Trouba now, they've got Kreider, but they've also got Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano. They're collecting all these
washed Rangers, like all the past their expiry date Rangers. That's what they are. They're not.
No, Vetrano's pretty good. Vetrano's actually gotten better since he got down.
Oh, I like Vetrano. I like Vetrano. Okay, but sorry, Trouba, Kreider. Like, come on now. What are we talking about here?
Same thing with Strome. He's an okay player on a bit of an expensive contract. I mean, look, for the Rangers, it's a big win to get off Kreider's contract, especially because they were in a bit of a cap crunch. It sounds like, based on some reports out of New York, that they may be shipping out Keandre Miller, but and he would have commanded a significant contract extension this summer as an RFA. But before moving Kreider, they really had no flexibility, even just to potentially re-sign Miller and Will Cooley. So Kreider shipping him out, not having to retain any money, not having to pay a sweetener, actually getting a couple of positive assets in return, that gives them necessary breathing room. I still think the Rangers are in a tough spot where they don't have a lot of flexibility to upgrade and improve, but at the very least, they needed to do something just to be able to re-sign Cooley and then either re-sign Miller or afford a top 4 replacement for him. So it gives them that opportunity. And for the Ducks, they had, before the Kreider trade, nearly $40 million in cap space. Now, they also have to re-sign Mason McTavish and Lucas Dostal. But the point being, even after acquiring Kreider, even after you extend McTavish and Dostal, they have tons of cap space to make splashy moves. For them too, Kreider only has 2 years of term left. So if he doesn't pan out, there's not a lot of term left on the contract. And again, they have so much flexibility that it doesn't kill them too badly. Plus, what they're probably banking on is Kreider dealt with and played through some serious back issues and vertigo. They're probably thinking, if he is healthier next season, then let's not forget that this guy was 1 year removed from scoring 39 goals and 75 points. He's an elite net front power play guy. The Ducks had the worst power play in the NHL this past season. It wouldn't surprise me if he bounced back and scored 25 to 30 goals. And is a cap hit a little bit expensive for what he is at this stage in his career? Yeah, but the Ducks are also one of the unique teams where they can afford to overpay somebody on cap hit a little bit just to bring in a veteran that can score goals and boost their power play.
Where does Mitch Marner sign? I've started to wonder about this. because you just brought it, we were just talking about Anaheim and someone in the chat, where did it go? Yeah, Mike Lavallee in the chat said the Ducks have 32 million after getting Kreider to blow, just like Nashville did. Looking at these teams, like go look at Puckpedia, folks. Go look at the projected cap space of some of these teams. There is going to be a lot of money thrown around in free agency right now, and there are a lot of teams that I think are going to be trying to get a heck of a lot better. And they're going to take a swing at Mitch Marner. They're going to be teams that could use 100 points in the regular season from one player. There are going to be teams that fit that billing. Harm, where does Mitch Marner sign? Give me your answer.
If I was him, this isn't a prediction of where I think he's going to sign, but if I was him, I would pick LA or Vegas. Now, Vegas needs to clear out some cap room to potentially get that done, but they've got contracts they could move out. They always find a way to move money around and go big game hunting.
Someone's going to need to go on LTIR.
Well, not necessarily. They could move William Karlsson. They could move Nick Waugh. Nick Hague is on the trade block. They've got contracts they can move out.
Or they could just put one of those guys on LTIR.
Yeah. But I mean, stashing somebody for the whole season is tough. Although if there's one team that could do it.
Yeah, what are we talking about? They do it every year. Sorry, go on.
But I mean, think about it. Vegas and LA, sunny, warm weather climates. You get away from all the media pressure. Those are LA, Vegas. You're not getting a lot of media pressure there. And you immediately get to go to contending teams. Sounds pretty appealing to me. Especially Vegas, no state income tax as well.
I would go a different direction. No, okay. I think Vegas is a great choice. But I would rather go to Anaheim than LA. Or San Jose. I would sign with San Jose if I were
San Jose. Why? Yeah. Wouldn't you want to play on a good team?
No.
Why? Oh, because you're about to give some funny theory, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
I am the best player on the team by a country mile. You talk about being revered like a god. How about when the second best player on the team has 59 points and you're putting up 112? Like, there's going to be an ounce of criticism in that market. LA, you go to the playoffs, they choke again, and then all of the fans are saying, oh my gosh, the choking in the playoffs, we do this every year, and we signed this guy to help us. He's the biggest choker ever in the world, blah, blah, blah. We don't want this player. That would happen in year one. San Jose, oh my gosh, this guy put up 100 points and helped us go from 31st all the way to 27th. Like 5 more years of this, we're going to be in the playoffs. Mitch Marner is just cashing in those checks. He's living in the Bay Area. He's loving life down there. And same deal with Anaheim. And let's also not forget that San Jose just looks like a ton of fun. It looks like a fun team to play for right now. They got good vibes.
You don't have to worry about your playoff track record.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't make
That's on pause. That's on pause, dude. That's on pause. You just don't have to worry about it. I'm serious. Like, if I were Mitch Marner, I would think about that. You know what I was actually thinking about? And this is also kind of in the same vein, but also like it is a market that at its best does have a lot of media pressure. Chicago. Like, that's an original 6 team. That's a really cool team to be a part of, I think, if you're Mitch Marner. There's the fact of the Boston Bruins as well. Could they be players for Mitch Marner? I think that would be a big splash for Boston.
Too close to Toronto, though. It's just divisionally and playing against them a lot.
Weather. Yeah. We're losing the weather aspect when we start throwing out Chicago and Boston. But this is all just to illustrate that there's a lot of cap space around. And like, if we were doing a list of purely like who could sign Mitch Marner this offseason, because in past offseason, when there's been a big fish free agent, we're kind of like, okay, well, half the league has space to do this. About 4 of those teams are going to be serious. It's well over half the league has space to sign Mitch Marner right now. Now, they'd have to get a little creative, but like there is a good chunk of teams that could sign Mitch. You just brought up Vegas. Like, Vegas has like the 5th least available cap space of any team in the league right now. And it's absolutely realistic that Vegas could sign him. So I like it. I think this is really good for the game. But there's just like, no one knows where Mitch Marner is going to sign. And it's a ton of fun. Is he going to go to Utah?
Yeah. You know what the funniest outcome would be?
Tell me.
If he signs in Carolina after blocking the Mikko Rantanen trade.
Ooh.
That would be the biggest FU to Leafs fans.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's that's funny.
Carolina has the most cap space of any active contender in the NHL.
Absolutely. Except for the Flames. Actually, the Canes have more cap space than they do. The Canes have more cap space than they do. Oh man, that would be the ultimate FU. That's funny. I'm glad you brought that up. I like that. Okay, is there anything else? We got to the Matthew Darsh stuff. We got to tell you about the Vancouver Whitecaps, which I'll just do right now because Whitecaps FC are unbeaten in 11 straight MLS games with a win against Seattle on Sunday. The 11 straight is a club record. The Caps are tops in the West and in the league. They head back on the road this weekend where they are unbeaten. Kickoff in Columbus is Saturday at 4:30 p.m. The Caps then come back home to host San Diego FC for the very first time on Wednesday, June 25th. Kickoff for that one is at 7:30 p.m. For tickets, visit whitecapsfc.com/tickets.
Welcome to Vancouver and to BC Place, the home of Jesper Sorensen's Vancouver Whitecaps FC.
All right, let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. Harm, it is a Stanley Cup final game tonight. How you feeling? You see how sweaty Stuart Skinner was? Dude looks like he's shivering. Like, oh my gosh, he looks like he's shaking in his boots, man.
Yeah, the game 3 was rough.
Well, no, did you see the media avail where he was actually like sweating his
No,
ass
I
off?
didn't see that.
Jacob, pull it up. He said it was because of the Florida humidity. But he's back in tonight. And obviously it hasn't gone super well for Stuart Skinner.
It wasn't his fault though.
Yeah, but he came out like, okay, you know the Key and Peele sketch where Jordan Peele is just dripping in sweat and like there's like a hose over top of him, but you don't see the hose and it just looks like he's just dripping with sweat.
I think so.
I mean, you'd know. It's a meme too.
Oh yeah,
Jacob,
okay, I've seen it.
Yeah. It was basically that. Jacob, how are we doing on this?
I've got it here. I just got a screenshot of it rather than the whole video, but
That's fine.
yeah,
That's fine. Just show Harmon. Look at him. Look at his chest. Look how moist he is. Zoom in on his forehead.
That's a lot.
Yeah, dude is sweating. He is sweating. So we are taking. Where'd it go? There it is. We're taking the under on Stuart Skinner saves tonight. It's at -120 for him to make under 26.5 total saves on the night. I'm taking that. -120. Taking the under. Stuart Skinner saves for tonight's game. You can get that and so many other bets over at Bet365 if you want to get in on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right. We will wrap it up there. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Wujelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.